Welcome to part 5 of RokCoder's Space Invaders tutorial. Up to this point, we've created a game where we have 40 Space Invaders sitting there, but they're not currently moving down the screen. In this tutorial, we're going to get them moving in unison down the screen. So the first thing to do is go to your Invader sprite. Where we change character by 0, change it back to 1 so that the Move Invader code is actually called. In the Move Invader code, we need to update the coordinates for every clone in the list. So let's set a variable called index, which we'll use to index into the list. We'll start off with index as 1, starting at the beginning of the list, and we're going to repeat through all of the entries in the list. So that's repeating through all invader count. We're only interested in moving invaders that are active. We don't want to slide explosions around the screen. So if the item index or invader state is active, then let's get its x coordinate. So x to, I'll make a copy of this. It's going to be very similar. So x to item index of invader x. And then we're going to simply change it by the value of direction as we did before. So we'll change x by direction. We'll write it back into the list, so we're actually updating the list. So we'll replace item index of invader x with the new x coordinate, and we'll see if it's reached the edge of the screen. So similar to this, except I'm not using the x position, I'm using the x variable. If it's reached the edge of the screen, I don't want to do anything because I'm not interested in just one invader reaching the edge of the screen. If any of the invaders reach the edge, then all of the invaders drop and turn as one. So how I'll deal with that is I will add a new variable called drop and turn, question mark because it's true or false, it's for this sprite only. At the beginning, I will set drop and turn to false. But if any of the entries in the list reach the edge of the screen, I will then set drop and turn to true. And obviously I'm going through the whole list, so I need to increment the index counter. After I've gone through all of that, I now know whether any of the invaders have reached the edge. If they have, I can check with if drop and turn is true. So at this point, well, first of all, I have to swap the direction over. So I can use the same code as before for that. After this, I need to step through all of the lists again to update the x and y coordinates. So again, I will set the index to 1. I will repeat through the entire invader count. I'm only interested in updating invaders that are active, as I did before. And so if it's an active, I can do that by looking at item index of invader state. Now, if is active, then I want to moving back slightly as we did before. So change x, well I need to get the x value first. So let's set the x value, copy this, to item index of invader x, and let's set y to item index of invader y, and now we will change the x by direction because the direction is swapped over, and we'll change the y by -32 to make him drop down the screen. And we will update the list with the new values. So I'm looking to replace the old value at index of invader x with x, and similarly for the y value. Which brings me to this point. If the invader has reached the bottom of the screen, then the game is over. But again, we're not interested in doing that just for one invader. We want if any of the invaders has reached the bottom of the screen, then the game will be over. So in a similar manner to how we did before with drop and turn, we will create a new variable called landed, question mark because it's true or false. We'll start off with landed being false, and we will set it to true if any of the y values reach -160. So instead of y position, if the y value equals -160, we will set landed to true, and then we'll go on to the next item in the list. And then after we've gone through the entire list, at the end we can say if any of those clones have landed, then the game is over. So we just check to see if landed is true, and if it is, we can set game over to true. So just scanning over that code, moving the invaders, we update the x of all the invaders in the list. If any have reached the edge of the screen, then we're dropping and turning, where we're updating the x and the y and the direction. If any of the invaders have landed, then the game is over. Let's see how that works. Space, all the invaders, but only one of them is moving. Now that is interesting. In the move invaders, we have a lot of loops in there now. Now if you look back at the manage game, recall this game loop has to run very quickly, very efficiently. So it's running 30 times a second. None of these receivers can take a lot of time or it will slow everything down. In here, this has got lots of loops in it, so we need to edit it to make it run without a screen refresh. And now, if you run it, let's see what happens. Invaders are moving nicely. We can shoot them. And when they reach the edge of the screen, it should drop and turn. Excellent. So now we have a full wave of invaders. In the next tutorial we'll look at getting the invaders to drop bombs, have the player have 3 lives, and see where we can go from there.